When you think of exhibition fights, you very rarely think of sold-out arenas and media frenzies pre-fight. Anticipated competitive bouts are not something usually associated with boxing exhibitions, until now at least. On the 28th of August, YouTuber turned boxer Jake Paul will take on former UFC welterweight champion Tyron Woodley in a highly anticipated exhibition bout to be contested at California's Avalon Theater. But before we get into the fight, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe below so you don't miss any future content. If you've been around the boxing scene for the last 6 to 12 months, you've probably heard of the name Jake Paul. Since his second exhibition fight with former professional basketball player Nate Robinson at the back end of last year, people began to realize just how serious the 24-year-old YouTuber was taking his newfound career in boxing. But more importantly, people began to acknowledge just how impressive he looked in the ring also. After knocking Robinson out in devastating fashion midway through the second round, clips of Jake Paul's vicious right hand that sent Nate to the canvas headfirst began to trend on most social media platforms, raising his stock with boxing professionals and avid spectators alike.
Oh my God! Lord have mercy! Oh Jesus!
Just like his older brother and fellow YouTube superstar Logan Paul, it's safe to say that Jake splits opinions in almost everything he does, and it's also safe to say that he doesn't really help the cause either. From calling out some of combat sports' biggest names, such as Conor McGregor, Nate Diaz, and Jorge Masvidal, to mocking UFC promoter Dana White in one of his videos, Jake has earned himself a somewhat infamous reputation within the sporting world.
My team sent you a $50 million offer this morning. $50 million cash, proof of funds, the biggest fight offer you've ever been offered, but you're scared to fight me, Conor.
And it's almost a certainty that he doesn't plan to change anytime soon.
Yeah, I just feel bad for these UFC fighters. They need to get more pay, and Dana White's the one in control of that, and they can't say anything. They can't speak up to their boss.
When he talks of potential fights down the line with some of boxing's biggest attractions, including multi-weight world champion Canelo Alvarez, it would be easy to conclude that Jake isn't serious about boxing, or that he may be deluded in regards to his future ambitions within the sport of boxing. Although this may be somewhat true, that's what many have come to love about the problem child Jake Paul. His unshakable self-belief and confidence bordering on arrogance, his fearless and constant pursuit for success, as well as his never-say-die attitude. However, as we found out before, self-belief and confidence can only get you so far in the world of combat sports. And many think, in this fight, this may be just one step too far this time for Jake Paul. His opponent, a fast, powerful 170-pound knockout artist from Ferguson, Missouri, nicknamed The Chosen One, has said pre-fight that he'll be ready to show Paul what a real fighter is come August 28th.
Now that's it. Tyron Woodley knocks out Josh Koscheck. Oh my goodness! Wow!
Tyron The Chosen One Woodley was a UFC competitor and former world champion in arguably one of the most hotly contested divisions the company has had to offer in recent times, home to names such as Kamaru Usman, Colby Covington, and Britain's Leon Edwards. In the MMA world, Tyron is known for his athleticism, explosiveness, and his punching power, and over the years he's gained a strong reputation amongst the mixed martial arts community. Although Tyron has 5 submission victories on his record, most would agree that his main threat lies on the feet with his right hand, more specifically his trademark overhand right that has floored many a fighter throughout the span of Woodley's career. If the Tyron Woodley of 3 to 5 years ago was stepping into the ring against Jake Paul on August 28th, most would see the fight as a foregone conclusion, regardless of Tyron's MMA background. However, since his loss to Kamaru Usman in the spring of 2019, Woodley has lost all of his bouts in the UFC and hasn't looked like the fierce, energetic puncher we've come to know. Fans believe this is not only a result of facing top contenders such as Colby Covington and Gilbert Burns, but more of a factor that Woodley is coming to or is already at the tail end of his mixed martial arts career. So what does Woodley's decline mean for Jake Paul? Is he good enough to beat a somewhat over-the-hill MMA fighter in a boxing ring? Or could Jake Paul go even further and shock the world by pulling off another stoppage victory? Although he possesses no boxing background whatsoever, a large percentage of YouTube and boxing fans alike believe that Paul has more than just a puncher's chance against the hard-hitting Tyron Woodley, with some going as far as putting him as the favorite in this fight. And it seems the odds makers would agree, with Jake Paul coming in as the slight favorite around minus 138 and Woodley coming in as an underdog at the price of around plus 100. In terms of the odds, this surely makes impressive reading for someone who only took up boxing around 3 years ago, to be considered favorite in a bout against an active professional fighter in Woodley. Granted, most would agree that Tyron may have the better boxing technique and a more advanced boxing IQ in comparison to the YouTuber as a pro fighter.
Woodley's I'm gonna do him, man. To be honest, I think he's got that explosive power, and I feel he's gonna smash him.
Tyron Woodley better win for all of us, man. He better knock him out straight up.
But as we all know, boxing is never that simple. It's a complex sport where certainties rarely exist. Because Woodley has never been in a highly charged, highly anticipated bout such as this under the bright lights of a boxing ring, Jake Paul supporters are hoping the occasion may get to him, and when things aren't going well for you in a sold-out arena in front of thousands, in a completely different environment, they say the boxing ring can be a very lonely place. And if Paul can capitalize on Woodley's nerves and not allow him to get his rhythm, it could spell for a very long night for the Missouri man. But make no mistake, there's also a chance that if Jake comes fully prepared to the fight with the speed, movement, and power we saw in his last contest, he could have an outside chance of putting Woodley away himself. On the other side of the fence, there's no doubt that if Woodley can land his own dynamite right hand clean on Jake Paul, be that early or late in the fight, the problem child would surely have never felt raw power such as Tyron Woodley's. And the question after that would surely be how well Jake can deal with it if he does get hit, or even if he will have the chance to do so in the bout. If Woodley were to emerge victorious via a close decision, it would surely mean the end to any hopes of competing at the very top of the UFC's welterweight division for the chosen one. But if Woodley were to put on a clinic and take the, what he claims, overconfident Jake Paul out early, not only would it silence the hardcore Paul supporters, many think it could possibly mean a somewhat revival of Tyron Woodley's combat sports career.
You're a problem child. That's what you saw. You haven't even been in front of enough people to know what to judge a face-off from.
But what if this 24-year-old YouTuber from Westlake, Ohio, carried on his run of impressive early knockouts in a boxing ring come the 28th of August? Jake Paul has made it clear to everyone that he has no intention of going anywhere anytime soon, and that he eventually wants to be fighting the top names in boxing, even going as far to say that he will one day become a world champion in the sport. Has Jake Paul's ambition and desire led him to bite off more than he can chew this time? Or has he cherry-picked a declining UFC fighter just at the right moment to further his unfolding boxing career? No one can be certain, no, not even Jake, but one thing's for sure, Tyron Woodley versus Jake Paul will certainly not be one to miss.